Parenting a toddler can feel like trying to decode a tiny, unpredictable human, especially when it comes to growth, appetite, sleep, and behavior. One week they eat everything, the next week nothing. 1 month they grow out of their clothes overnight, then seem to pause for months. I am Dr. Sirisha Kusuma. I am a pediatric endocrinologist based in Hyderabad. As a pediatric endocrinologist, my job is to help parents understand what is normal, what is noise, and what truly deserves attention. Having discussed about growth in the last video, I will now walk you through energy biology, why their appetite is inconsistent, regulation biology, why routines matter more than specific foods, and finally, safety. That is when things are not normal. Think of this as a science-backed guide to calm your worries, not add to them. First up, energy biology. Toddler eating behaviors are one of the biggest stressors for families. But appetite regulation in early childhood is actually one of the most hormonally intelligent systems we have when we don't interfere too much. Appetite fluctuates with growth velocity, activity, sleep, and even emotional development. A toddler who ate very little today may be eating exactly what their body needs today. Many children eat more before growth spurts and less during growth pauses. This variability is normal, not a sign of nutritional failure. Forcing intake often disrupts natural hunger cues. That leads to the big questions parents ask. Is my child underweight or overweight? True endocrine causes of weight issues in toddlers are rare. Most weight variation reflects genetics, appetite regulation, and environment. We investigate hormonally only when weight concerns are paired with poor growth, delayed development, or abnormal energy levels. So if weight alone does not tell us much, what actually controls how much a toddler eats? Not parenting, not willpower, internal regulation. Children are born with internal systems that regulate energy balance. In other words, toddlers do not regulate eating meal to meal, they regulate it week to week. When adults override hunger and fullness cues, kids lose trust in their bodies. Pressure often leads to power struggles, not better nutrition. Chronic feeding pressure increases stress hormones like cortisol, and cortisol influences appetite, insulin sensitivity, and fat storage patterns. So emotional climate is not separate from metabolism, it is part of it. Finally, let us clear up metabolism confusion. Toddler metabolism isn't fast or slow, it is responsive. Growth phases increase needs, plateaus reduce them. Metabolism is not broken by skipped meals or picky phases, it is resilient. Sugar is another topic that generates fear. We will address it in the next section on regulation biology. Next, regulation biology. If appetite is not controlled by willpower, what controls it? Hormones and routines. First, let me address the food fears. Sweets are emotionally charged for parents, but metabolically, toddlers are not miniature atoms, and sugar doesn't behave the way many fear. Insulin responds to total dietary patterns, not single foods. Insulin's job is to help cells use glucose for energy and storage. It responds to overall dietary patterns, not a single biscuit. In healthy toddlers, occasional sugar does not damage insulin function. What affects insulin more significantly is chronic sleep disruption, stress, persistent excess, not isolated treats. Occasional sugar does not damage insulin function in healthy toddlers. So, does sugar cause diabetes? Short answer is, it is complicated. Sugar worries many parents because in Indian families it represents both love and celebration, but also fear about diabetes. The truth is, toddlers' insulin systems respond to overall eating patterns, not to one sweet. An occasional sweet at a festival or birthday does not harm a healthy child. What matters is frequency. Daily sweetened foods, repeated exposure to very sweet taste, and replacing nutritious foods with sugary snacks. Many parents think jaggery or honey are safer, but all sweeteners are still sugar for the body. Children do not need added sweetness every day. And importantly, sugar does not cause type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune condition. Type 2 diabetes in toddlers is very, very rare and linked to long-term habits, not occasional treats. So the goal is balance. Sweets as sometimes foods, not everyday foods. Use calm language, not fear or guilt. When we protect healthy habits early, we protect long-term metabolic health. And finally, habits that help. Shared meals, regular sleep, movement, and emotional safety protect metabolism more than restriction ever will. Energy levels are another area parents often worry about. But parents often interpret low energy as a food problem. when it is usually regulation. So food alone does not control metabolism, regulation does. The biggest regulator is sleep. The thyroid plays a critical role in growth and brain health, but true thyroid disease in toddlers is uncommon. The thyroid acts like the body's energy regulator. When it is off, we see clear patterns, not subtle ones. Typically, we see slowed growth, persistent low energy, developmental slowing together, not just poor appetite. Thyroid disease affects growth velocity, energy level, and development simultaneously, not appetite alone. So when is low energy normal? Toddler energy varies widely. Medical causes show consistency, not occasional tired days. What about screening tests? Testing without clear symptoms often create confusion rather than clarity. Sleep ties all hormones together. Sleep is the central regulator connecting growth, appetite, emotional regulation, and metabolic balance. It is the time when hormone systems reset. Without consistent sleep, the entire endocrine system becomes less coordinated. These hormones rise and fall with routine, not perfection. And poor sleep affects more than mood. Sleep debt changes hunger hormones and emotional resilience. What about night wakings? Most night wakings are developmental, not hormonal problems. Now that we have addressed the foundational parts, that is growth biology, energy biology, and regulation biology, I'm going to talk about what actually deserves medical attention. Normal toddler biology is variable. Endocrine disease, in contrast, is persistent, progressive, and affects multiple systems, not just one fluctuating symptom. Picky eating, fluctuating appetite, short phases of fatigue, night waking, growth pauses, they are common and usually normal. These symptoms become concerning only when persistent and progressive. We worry when these patterns continue for weeks to months, not days. Crossing growth percentiles downwards, loss of previously gained skills, chronic diarrhea, constipation with growth issues, excessive thirst, frequent urination, especially with weight loss, they all deserve evaluation. Trust patterns, not moments. An endocrine evaluation is appropriate only when multiple systems are affected. Growth, energy, development, not just one symptom. Consistent growth faltering, delayed milestones, persistent lethargy. There are reasons to ask, not isolated behaviors. Toddlers are biologically messy and beautifully resilient. Growth, appetite, and behavior, they are not separate problems. They are expressions of the same biological system. Most worries soften when we understand how the body is designed to grow. When in doubt, look for patterns, not perfection, and ask for help when something truly feels off.